All right, so here is the drawing that we're going to do. So I'm looking at this. We're going to concentrate on this bottle, and so let's take a close look at it before we delve into it. And so I want you to see a couple things. What's really important in this exercise is that we're making this look three-dimensional. And so essentially we're going to learn about perspective, but really what we're doing here is just looking at some primary shapes. If you look very carefully, you've got a circle, you got two circles here, and then these ovals. And so that's kind of what we're going to key on. Let me sharpen my pencil real quick. All right, so let me zoom out here, and I'm going to essentially, you're going to notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 steps in this. Now you can combine them. I'll probably just combine them. I'll start and then I'll clean it up. And then we're going to take it one level and we're going to add some graphics on this. So everybody's going to be able to customize it. All right, so here we go. I'm going to look at this now. I'm going to look at my space. Let me just make sure we got enough. I got enough room here to do this. So here's about the top and my bottom. All right. Okay. So a couple of things that, and I think the ruler is actually very helpful because the bottle itself is symmetrical, meaning the left and the right. It's a bottle, right? It's a round shape. So let's go ahead here then, and I'm going to just put a real, and so don't worry about lines. We can always erase them. I'm just going to make a vertical line, and I kind of have a sense of where my top of this, and I'm making this a larger scale, but I'm going to kind of say here, all right, so here's going to be the top, and then here's going to be a center to the bottom. Now you could use a compass to make this round circle. There's two round circles I want to make. All right, so let's just look at that a little bit more closely. And so the one on the top, all right, the one at the top. All right, so that kind of keeps the shoulder. You're going to see here's the shoulder of this bottle, and then the one on the bottle just brings it in on the base. Right, so we're just going to sketch those in. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So here we go. So I've got this top where this lid's going to be, or the cap of this, something like this. And so what I recommend you do is just kind of sketch the overall shape in. And then what I want to do is, if you look really closely here, this circle actually comes right to the bottom of it. So a circle obviously is, believe it or not, is straight points all put together. So a circle is straight lines. So if I wanted to, I wouldn't necessarily do this, but I'm going to double check here real quick because I'm doing a demo here. So that's about 3 inches. And so the width's going to be about 3 inches. Yeah, so I'm pretty close here. All right. And so it's about 3 inches all the way around. All right. So let's just go ahead and make a circle. All right. And then I'm going to do the same circle on the bottom. So about a 3-inch circle here. And it actually comes below, center 1.5. And again, I'm just going to go rather quickly here. Okay, so here's my bottom circle that I'm going to use. I'll draw that. And it's okay. You can be messy because we're gonna use our eraser a lot in these kind of sketches. All right. So I've got 2 circles about the same. All right, it's a little off, but I'm close enough. All right, so now what I'll do is, got that center line. Let's go ahead and then just kind of start to draw this. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Let's do the top first. All right, so here's my top. The other thing you should notice is you have to think about, where is it that I'm looking at this? And if you notice, you can actually see some of the top. You're basically looking, and then the bottom, you notice that oval, that tells me we're looking down on this, right? The way that this looks, we're looking down at this bottle, not from that high, but we're not parallel to it. We're not on the same plane. So we're looking down at the object. So if you look at, we're actually kind of coming down and looking at it from this angle. That's where our eye is. All right, so that's where eye is. So we're looking this way. So knowing that I'm going to come down to it, that's why these ovals are really important to see that. So I'm looking down at it. And so what I'm going to do is, in the center of this circle, I'm going to make an oval. All right, and so think of a circle as it goes away from you, it becomes an oval, right? So I'll give you an example here. So here, oh, I just happen to have a Jaguar that's a circle. Now, as it goes, as I see how it becomes an oval, and that's what we're going to be drawing right in there is an oval. Okay, so let's do an oval here. And I will keep this as our reference. And the reality is, if you notice that the oval is actually bigger or less at an angle than the one on the top, right? It's just the way that perspective works. So I'm going to draw this, and you have to be careful that you keep it round and not pointy. All right, so there's the one on the top. Now, if we're looking down on this, the second oval is going to be larger, right? The width here is going to be bigger than the width there, right? You notice that's it's about almost twice the size here. Not quite twice the size, but it's getting close. So it's going to look something like, and so we're trying to round it on the circles and use that, right? All right, so just sketching there. All right, so let me zoom out a little bit. So there it is. So it's if you notice, it's bigger. It's a little off center here, but that's okay. All right, and so now what I'll do then, and I am following this exercise. So if you're confused at all, you can refer to this this page. It's 32 of your book. All right, so I'm kind of getting close. Now it wants me to add a couple more ovals, and then I need to make this shoulder, right? So one thing I might do, though, is try to keep these two lines, and I'm working off the center line here. You want to keep these parallel as close as you can, all right? And don't worry if you're making a mess. Okay, so getting closer here. Now let's just go ahead and work on the shoulder. The top of this, I'm essentially looking straight at it. So I could just do something like this. And I might want to measure, just say, all right, so this is going to be 1 1/4 inches. So it's 3/4 of an inch each side. That might be a little big. Let's do something like this, all right? So then I'll do something like this. And I'm going to go rather quickly, and I'm going to show you, though, how we're going to make this three-dimensional in a minute. Now, the funny thing is, if you look really closely, the bottom of the cap is actually has, it's actually a small oval. And so I'm going to draw the bottom with a slight oval. All right, so let's zoom out of here. So let's make this just a little oval there, just a rounded one. So that's the bottom of the cap. All right, and this might have a slight one, but you know, we're not going to see the back of this oval. Okay, so there we go. And then maybe it's got a little one. Maybe I can just a tease of the top like that. All right, so then let's build the shoulder, and we're essentially going to work off this. And you know, it's never a bad idea to look at a bottle as you do something like this, but I'm going to just bring this down, and everybody's going to have a unique, different one. But I'm just going to, you know, cheat and tie into that circle that I made, right? And I'm pulling this in a little bit, and I'm going to do the same. Now, it's funny, if you're left-handed, it's easier to make the circles on the right. If you're left-handed, that's why when I make cars, I'm always kind of drawing them in this perspective, right? Because my hand likes to work in that, right? So the roundness. So left-hand cars typically will be facing the other direction. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. All right. And you're trying to make it symmetrical, meaning that the left and the right should be identical. I mean, think of a bottle when it's made. It's usually injected, molded. All right, so while we're here, let's just do something a little cheat. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I want to force this perspective. So it's starting to look like a perspective, but what I can do is I can make a lid here. And so typically there's little grooves. So the ones closest to me in the center would be larger, but as they go away, they would get a lot tighter. So I could do something like this to demonstrate that. So that what I would be doing then is just making these a lot tighter. And then as it gets closer to me, it's going to get bigger. And I'm going really fast here, so you might want to take your time and just measure these out a little bit more than I am. but hopefully that'll give you a sense of. And so what we're trying to do when we're doodling like this is just create the illusion that it's a three-dimensional object. All right, so you can see as it gets farther away, there's more and more lines. Okay, so kind of giving the illusion it's three-dimensional. Not bad so far. All right, good job. All right. All right. And so now, I've kind of got this top, place where I like it. I actually want a little farther. And so now I'm going to do the same in the bottom. Now, bottles are transparent, so you may want to show the oval behind it. You may not. It's okay. So let's kind of give the bottom of this some love because I was giving all right. So let's go down here. This is kind of janky. Let's try to clean this up a little bit. All right, we want to maintain this curve on the bottom though, because it doesn't just go flat. So I need to measure this a little bit. I think it's coming down a little bit, and it's okay to erase. It's all good. That's why they make erasers. All right, so I'm going to come down here. All right, do something like this. So I got the bottom of the bottle. It still feels a little forced. Like soda bottle is a little bit more rounder, where if you're buying a some sort of fancy Grey Goose or whatever it is, bottles are a little bit more, glass bottles tend to be sharp. Okay, so there's that. Now, it's a little off, but it's okay. All right, so again, I'm following this. Now it wants another oval a little bit above it. So it's remember that as we look down, it's going from smaller to a bigger angle here. So I'm going to just make something a little bit. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I feel like, I've done a pretty good job here, but let's make this into something that I can actually do. So what I want you to do is I'm going to put a label on this. So let's just, when you can make yours any kind of bottle. And so everybody's is going to be different. So I'm going to kind of follow these lines. Remember, the ovals are getting a little, they're opening up as I go down. So I'm going to make an oval underneath it. And this is going to be my label of this, right? So I'm going to do something like this. And I'm going to do something really quick here. Let's make another one. So it's not going to be quite as big as the one below it, but we'll do something like this. Okay, so I'm going to make all that area right in there. I need an eraser. I guess I make too many mistakes. So I'm going to make this my label. I'll get rid of all this. So what designers will do in this kind of, if a lot of people don't want to erase, what they'll do is they'll put it under here. And then this is this thin paper, and then they'll go over it and clean it up. So that's one way that because a lot of people don't like to erase, but erasing's fine. All right, so this is going to be my label. And so what I want to do is essentially what I was doing with a cap. If you notice how I kind of made that, I forced the perspective by doing something like that. So I should probably have something thought out, but I'm just going to go ahead and actually that label looks a little big, but that's okay. These bottles, don't they have things like they have shapes? Kind of have some weird shapes I could do. So what I want you to do is customize your bottle, and then I'm going to show you so I think they have these kind of weird shapes, as I recall, soda bottles. So glass bottles are different. You're certainly welcome to go on the internet, look at bottles, but here's going to be my label. Actually, I feel like it's my label, this probably needs to be a little, I want to make my label a little higher. All right, so I'll just, and you can make yours wherever you want. And I'm going to make a label here, and let's do like some brand of soda here or whatever it is. All right, so what I would do then is if you think about, what can I call this thing? All right, so if I was going to do something like Jack's, right? So I'd come here and I'd be making my font that's following that angle, and I'd be coming down, and it's going to be in perspective. So it's going to be smaller, but I'm following this line here. So you might want to just give yourself a little reference. All right, so I don't know what soda is called Jack's, but I've just made one. All right, and again, think of this more as doodling than anything else. Right, so kind of follow that. So everything in the center is going to be a little bigger. I'm trying to follow this line the best I can. J-C-K, right? Okay, I can spell. All right, so I need to slow down. Fine soda or something like that, right? So you're going to spend a little bit more time. But what I'm trying to do is just convey this three-dimensional object. I don't think I did a bad job. I think this probably wants to be a little bit less, feels like it's growing out a little bit, because actually if we're looking down, believe it or not, if I was looking down on this, it would actually be going a little bit, the line wouldn't be parallel. It would be doing something a little bit more like this. That's why it's looking a little weird for me. So, and I'm going a little bit beyond this book, but it would actually do something like this. So as I'm looking down on it, things that are closer to you are larger, and as it goes farther away, it gets smaller, or it's in perspective, right? So that's kind of why it didn't feel right to me. All right, so I kind of tuck that in a little bit, and then maybe the label is extended, maybe the bottle, just to create that illusion, maybe it's a little bit inside of there. Maybe that label is a piece of paper, it's got a little thicker mass to it. Okay, so that is your exercise. You are going to draw your own bottle based on the worksheet, and then take it one next level and make it your own. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording here. So give me one moment.